Chapter 5. 2 months have passed since my fateful first mission and I am relaxing on the Star Knights home space station. Well, the Star Knights do have a planet they call home. It's called Balor's Eye and it's a frozen death ball, but it has some of the most important stuff in the Empire on it, mostly mana trees. Life on Balor's Eye is only possible inside heavily shielded domes, as the planet is an icy death world. So most Star Knights don't live on the surface, they instead live in a giant space station that floats above the planet. This space station is a home to many of the Star Knights' families and acquaintances, and it is much like a floating city in space, complete with shops, restaurants and most importantly bars. I was enjoying my downtime with the other members of my fellowship, the group of knights we awaken with and go through training with. The bar's warm, cozy atmosphere enveloped us, providing a much-needed respite from our intense missions and training. My eyes shone with excitement as I animatedly recounted my last mission, my words punctuated by enthusiastic gestures. My friends leaned in closer, enthralled by my storytelling and hanging on to every word. I was so kiss-blocked by my Zording instructors, shouting and slamming my fist on the table as I concluded my story. The bar was abuzz with the sounds of laughter and clinking glasses as my fellow Star Knights and I gathered around a table. The aroma of rich spirits and savory snacks filled the air, adding to the jovial ambiance of the bar. As I finished my tale, the group erupted into cheers and applause, grateful for the camaraderie and adventure that came with being a Star Knight. So what happened to the girl? Icefox, my best friend and fellow Star Knight, asks. Well, her family's company had goons already on the ship with the instructors, and after the mission, they had the gall to complain about my sloppy extraction and damage to the facility. They got butthurt when I told them off and said Jade now had my shield, so they had to treat her well. I say, grabbing a handful of salty bar snack. That pissed the goons off. First they tried to pull the "you're just an awakened" crap, but my instructors said they accepted my shield. This made the goons mouth off to the instructors. This worked just as well on the grizzled Star Knight instructors as you would think. After this they blustered some more, then they whisked her off to her home without even letting us say goodbye. I conclude sadly. Ice Heron barks out. Did Stone Drake give the goons the old death glare? You know it, I say, leaning back and taking a slug from my glass, savoring the burn of high-quality booze. Well, it sounds like we should have given you this before the mission instead of after, Icefox says, pulling out a case. Inside is a long thin gauntlet made of some flexible metal weave of some sort. What's this now? I say. A personal shield glove, high quality, and it even works with your implants, plus it is more adaptable than our shield vests, plus it has some other goodies built in, Icefox says. But man, you had a run-in with a Chaos Legion death squad, Icehawk says. Those guys are bad news. Those squads have killed about a dozen knights and they sent you in without backup. Hell of a first solo training mission, she says, shaking her head. Yeah, they may have killed a dozen knights, but that was over the course of 30 years, Ice Heron refutes. Yeah, Icefox chimes in, they have a 10% success rate on the attempts that we know of. They are a danger, but their attacks are so infrequent. We lose almost as many knights to lovers' tiffs and bad jumps as those jokers. Still looking over my new glove, I give my 2 credits. They were a lot tougher than the normal troops in The Sims, and their gear was top of the line, and they were scarily accurate. My inspection of the glove is interrupted by the buzzing of my communicator. I quickly answered the call, knowing by the ring tone it could only be one person, Stone Drake, the head instructor for our fellowship. Hey, what's up, Teach? I asked, trying to sound casual despite the sudden tension in my stomach. Listen, Ice Wolf, Stone Drake's voice came through with a sense of urgency. I have some news for you. You're being assigned to a new mentor. I felt a pang of disappointment at these words. I had grown close to my current mentor, Steel Unicorn, and wasn't looking forward to starting over with someone else. Who is it this time? I asked, trying not to let my disappointment show. Bookworm, Stone Drake answered. My heart dropped even further at his response. Bookworm was known for being tough, demanding and snooty, not someone I wanted as a mentor. Oh, was all I managed to say before Stone Drake continued speaking. And you're being sent on a diplomatic tour with him to some of the less developed worlds. My mouth fell open at this news. Diplomatic missions were the most boring-sounding mission Star Knights got sent on. But why me? I couldn't help but ask with a slight whine I couldn't keep from my voice. You've shown great potential on your missions so far, but how you handled the company men from the Stone Blood job was less than stellar, Stone Drake replied. Plus, Bookworm is a good choice to smooth out your political rough edges. When do we leave? I asked, bracing myself for an immediate departure. Tomorrow morning, Stone Drake said. You'll meet Bookworm on his ship and head out from there. Stone Drake out. Turning back to my friends and fellow Star Knights, I say, already got my next mission, so next round's on me. Raising our glasses, we chant together a line from a Hollow vid we all loved. Let's drink our liquid courage tonight so tomorrow we can face any challenge. The next day I arrived early at the space docks and started going through the red tape to board the ship where I was meeting my new mentor, and thanks to some fancy space drugs, without a massive hangover. The ship that would be my new home for the duration of the mission looked kind of like a cucumber, oval with lots of little bumps, some of which were spiky, with 3 lumpy engine pods on the back in a triangle formation on the back. The ship was a standard make-jump ship for the Star Knights, about 500 feet long with a crew of about 100 or so regular crew and only 3 Star Knots. Star Knots are the junior members of the Star Knight Club. The Star Knots only have 1 power each. Of course, when they take the awakening ritual, they usually all survive, unlike Star Knights where 1 in 4 survivors is considered a successful batch. Of course, my batch, the overachievers that we all are, all managed to survive, with only a stronger than normal bout of amnesia, but it was nothing a couple of rounds of hypno training and brain implants couldn't fix, because when you have magic, who needs to remember simple things, like your name or how to stand up? As I boarded the ship that would take me to my next mission, a mixture of excitement and nervousness bubbled inside me. I couldn't wait to see what this new mentor, Bookworm, had in store for me. But at the same time, I couldn't shake off the feeling of disappointment that this was just a diplomatic mission. Once on board, Bookworm wasted no time in outlining our mission objectives. He stressed the importance of maintaining peace within the Empire through diplomacy and how our actions as Star Knights could have a ripple effect throughout the galaxy. You see how the human empire, yes, we call it the human empire, and no, we haven't found any aliens yet, works, as the Star Knights are actually the highest authority in the Empire, but instead of ruling the planets ourselves, we instead let the planets choose their government. Then if a government goes bad, we go in and remove the bad government and replace it with a different one, usually by killing everyone at the top of the old government. This means that the rich and powerful hate the Star Knights and would love to see us subjugated or wiped out, but our magic powers and Starblade Mecha are just too powerful. Also, we control all the jump ships, or we did if my last mission is anything to go by. I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride knowing that our work was crucial to keeping the peace. However, my excitement quickly dissipated when Bookworm explained that our mission consisted mostly of attending boring meetings and parades, and the receiving of hollow praise from politicians. I couldn't believe it. This was not what I had signed up for as a Star Knight, not that I could remember who and what I was before I became a knight. Where were the thrilling battles and daring rescues? Instead, we were acting as mere figureheads for political showmanship. Hopefully someone would rebel and I would get to shoot something. As we arrived at our first destination, a planet with a delicate balance between 2 different political factions, I tried to push aside my disappointment and focus on our duties. But it was difficult when all we did was attend endless meetings where politicians exchanged meaningless words and promises. I longed for some action, something to make me feel like I was truly making a difference in the Empire. But it seemed like diplomacy was not about making a difference but rather about maintaining appearances and keeping everyone content. I even snuck off to the slums of this planet to see how bad things were at the bottom. Newsflash: this planet was boring and safe. Despite wandering around the bad parts of town late at night, no one even tried to mug me or pick my pocket. The worst I encountered was some bad street food, and a twitchy guy sold me some weak sauce drugs and bootlegged videos. I couldn't help but wonder if this is what being a Star Knight meant, sacrificing excitement for politeness and diplomacy. It made me question my role as a protector of peace in the galaxy. Of course, this was the desired outcome for the regular people. They wanted to be safe in their homes and on the streets. Of course, Bookworm was mad at me for sneaking off in the government delegation. Well, they seemed shocked that I thought their bad part of town was tame and safe, and even tried to get me to turn in the drug dealer I found. But I'm a wolf, not a rat. Even as these thoughts filled my mind, I stayed by Bookworm's side and dutifully played my part. Well, mostly, knowing that this was all part of being a Star Knight. Sometimes doing mundane tasks for the greater good is what is called for.